Over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about my proprietary shock and awe campaign, which creates a buyer frenzy for homeowners with whom I choose to help sell their property. If you're considering selling or just getting ready, make sure that you watch the entire video, as there are some things in here that you could implement right now to better position your home for when it is the right time for you to sell. My name is Jeffrey Marples. I'm the broker owner of Square Foot SF. We're a real estate solutions company in San Francisco. I have almost 2 decades worth of transactional history in the city, and I've innovated some proprietary systems that allow my clients to sell their property fast and for top dollar. We do an average of 70 plus transactions every year right here in the city, every year, and I wanted to share those fundamental ways that I help my clients to reach their goals. Okay. When I talk about a service provider or a solutions provider, rather, I want to talk to you about, how we position ourselves within the real estate industry. I do sell property. I am a real estate agent. I do advise people, but first and foremost, I'm a solutions provider. I really help my clients, whatever it may be, for them to get from their pain level up to where they're really happy. And a good analogy that I use is, I try to work with clients to say, what is your pain? What is your hell? And what is their vision of their heaven state? Is it a successful sale for top dollar on their home? Whatever it may be, there's some hell. And some of the hell may be, I might be dealing with a trustee and the siblings within that trust are difficult. Or I'm evicting a tenant. And, so we need to go through that process. And a lot of the times the sellers, that's a lot of pain for sellers. They don't know how to do it. They don't want to do it. They don't want conflict. Or it might just be a simple matter of this one gentleman that I'm working with right now. He doesn't have the time. He's very, very busy and he has no time to really give me. Now, those are the things that I want. When a seller gives me the keys and trusts me with their property and trusts that I'm going to do the best job I can for them, I want to take on those burdens and try to figure out what are the issues that we're dealing with and how do I confront them head on so we could tackle those issues, get further down the road to where at the end we're completing a transaction, the clients are happy, and we win. I think the gratitude that I get from a lot of my clients is really the most important thing to me. And I think those are the things that really speak volumes. When I have clients that are just ecstatic on the things that we do, that's really the satisfaction. And honestly, and that's the way it should be. Real estate, we do make a lot of money, but at the same time, it really just comes down to making sure that we're doing everything that we can to make happy clients, right? Now, some of the things that I want to talk about when we're going through it is we want to understand some of the mistakes that there are in the marketplace, right? And, there's 4,000 real estate agents in San Francisco, and I know everybody has a choice with whom they want to work with, but I want to outline some of the mistakes that I see that are commonplace in the city, and maybe, these are the things that would help you move forward into positioning your home in the best light, right? And first and foremost, I think with any of my clients, it really comes down to really good communication. And that comes down to communication with me and the client, but it also comes down to good communication with me and the other agent. Now, especially when I have a very good reputation in the city for the people I work with, that's the one thing I don't want to jeopardize. So it really just comes down to when there are issues that do come up, we want to tackle them, but at the same time, we want to communicate to everybody involved to make sure that we're pushing the right buttons to resolve whatever issue comes about within the transaction. And you never know what might come about. Things do pull up that you wouldn't even expect, and it's our job to tackle those issues. Another part of that is, we want to keep you from any liability or litigation in the future. So a lot of that really comes down to making sure that we have good communication, that the seller discloses everything, and that we can move forward. Now, when we're in the introductory stages of thinking about selling, really what I'd like to do is try to ID and identify those items that the seller has that are of issue, and then also what are their expectations of me and their agent. I want to make sure that we lay a very good foundation for when we move forward, that things are getting done, that the client is being updated, because honestly, when they give me the keys, they're trusting me, and I want to make sure that communication and updates, and they know exactly where we are in the process. So when we're talking about mistakes, I sometimes find that people just don't have very good communication, and so that's one of the challenges that I see out there with other agents, particularly. One of the things that we also want to do is we want to be prepared, especially when you're looking at an old wood structured building. It is one thing to sell condos down that are brand new in South Beach. You don't really have to worry about the overall condition typically. But when it comes to wood structures, one of the things that I would definitely advise right from the start is to get a pest inspection. Don't necessarily have to get the home inspection. Also, I do like my buyers to get the home inspections, but the pest inspection is going to come back with a number of items that they're going to check for. So a pest inspection is going to be, termite, powder post beetle, dry rot, fungus, right? And the thing about that inspection is it's going to come up with a monetary value that it's going to take to rectify those items. So we want to make sure that we get a pest inspection up front. And part of that reason is because I don't want to be in a position where we're accepting a buyer into a contract, but they're asking for a pest inspection. And if we didn't cover that, we might be stuck with a renegotiation down the road. A pest inspection could come back. I've had them come back, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. And that changes the terms of the contract, and then we have to renegotiate. So one of the mistakes also I find is, especially with wood structures, sometimes people don't get the pest inspection. I think that's just a terrible mistake, because at the end of the day, I don't want to have to renegotiate with a buyer, because now we find out that there's a $30,000 pest inspection, and buyer's going to have, certainly they're going to have issues with that. So we want to provide that up front. Another part is, a lot of times people say, should I stage my property? Yes, it needs to be staged. I know it's expensive. I work with some stagers. The people within the industry, sometimes their prices are very high. I work with people that I trust, that I know I can get into the property, and I try to get a little bit better on a price point. At the end of the day, I want a comfortable environment where the buyers are going to come in and they're going to sit, they're going to enjoy, they're going to have a conversation. I want people to come into my listings and sit for 20 or 30 minutes. I want them to take their time. Now, I'll tell you, if you don't provide them a place to sit, deliver a property, or you're showing a vacant home, they're not going to sit, guys. There's no place for them to visualize where their couch is going to go, where their TV is going to go, or the bed. I think that a lot of buyers at a certain point, they simply don't have vision. And I think staging really sets the stage, so to speak, for that. If we can show that, we get people into the property, it's going to be great, because they're going to sit, they're going to enjoy it. And I guarantee you, it is worth the money. I know it costs money to stage a property, but it works, guys. And I'll tell you another reason why it works is because the main way to get buyers into your property is going to be great photographs. And I swear, I laugh. I cannot believe when I am going through my computer on Friday, I'm looking at new listings, and I see photographs of agents that they take with their cell phone. And it's dark. You could tell it's not a professional photograph. And then on top of that, you see all the personal stuff within the photograph, right? Those are the kiss of death. I mean, I'm sorry, but if we're in this age where we're disseminating all of this information and you have crappy pictures, then you've already lost the game. You haven't even, you could lose the game from day one. I mean, I'm flabbergasted, especially when you're looking at the values of real estate here in the city. If you're selling a property, I don't care what price it is, really. I'm going to do the same service if it's a lower price. I want my units to show great. And you know what? That's where the reputation comes in. That also just comes to show that we want to disseminate that information to all of our online sources. That's part of what we do. We really are focused hardcore on disseminating information across the internet platforms, from social media to real estate platforms, it across the line, because that's how we're going to get the eyeballs. We're going to get the eyeballs because people are going to see those photographs and they're going to see a staged unit and they're just going to look at it and it's going to be great. I mean, that's what we want. We want to be able to shock these buyers and wake them up to say, look at this great unit. I mean, it could be the same unit as another unit within one of the towers in the skyline, but if it's not staged right, if you don't have the right photographs, you're hurting yourself, guys. I mean, honestly. And then at the end of the day, I want to talk about the elephant in the room. And this is the last point that I'm really going to try to hammer out with you guys. We are in a market that has risen drastically in the last number of years. And then last year, inventory got tight. And this year, inventory is even tighter. So we still have a very good amount of demand. I think what we find in the marketplace, though, it's a very price-sensitive marketplace. I do see that there are listings out there that are sitting on the market for a considerable amount of time. And I'm representing buyers right now, to where we're getting in contract at $145,000 less than what the thing listed at, right? So when we're talking about pricing your home, right, we're going to look, we're looking for three different numbers, right? We're going to look at the sales comps. We're going to look at units that are like yours within your neighborhood that have sold recently, last 6 to 12 months. That have similar attributes, but what we want to do is also look at your attributes that are different from the market. What is your neighborhood? What are the conveniences in your neighborhood? What are those certain attributes that your property has compared to everybody else's? You might have a stunning view. You might have a great deck. Your unit might have just loads of character. You might have dumped in $1 million into the property and it is brand new. Whatever those features that, especially the client's going to tell us about, we want to market those. Those are the things that are inherently important to the seller, but also those things that are going to stand us out compared to the comps, right? So when we're looking at sold comps, we're also looking at active data. We're looking at those properties that are currently on the market and that we're comparing them to. Because remember, we got to say, okay, well, if we're listing this property today and we're going to get this thing on the market, what is our competition? How are we going to stack up to those other units? And those are the things that I really want to look at. When we're looking at comps, I want to see how fast things are selling, how quickly they're getting into contract, what are the prices that they're selling over for, or how many days have these properties been on the market? DOM, on days on market. That is a huge indicator for any buyers, guys, because when I represent buyers and I see a DOM of even 21 days, for me, that's really my marker, because I know within the first 2 weeks, if there's no competition and I'm not competing with anybody the day I'm writing a contract for a buyer, I'm coming in low. Of course I am. Why wouldn't I? Because we all know, right, that buyers, you make money when you buy, not when you sell in real estate, right? And buyers know that too. When you sell, you're just cashing out, right? So the price that we set on your property is going to be the most important thing, because we want to be able to have a listing price that's going to bring value into the eyes of the buyer, right? So with that said, we have the comps, and so we have our expectation. Our expectation could be with, say, a $25,000 to a $30,000 gap. It might be a benchmark, another $100,000. They want to reach, 1.2, 2.1, what's that benchmark? And then we also want to say, okay, well, we have the comps. We understand what we're expecting our value to be, but our listing price has to be much lower than that, because we want to drive as much traffic into this property as possible so we could set an offer date at the end of the 2 weeks. Because we know by the third week, a lot of those buyers are going to leave. So we want to be able to say within that first 2 weeks, at the height of our traffic, that we have a listing date, or an offer date rather, for you to submit your offers. We want to be able to create an environment where buyers are looking at your property. They all see the value on it because we're accentuating the amenities or the features, the special unique qualities of that property, and compare it to what else is in the market. Right? So whatever that market is, it could be Russian Hill, Pacific Heights, South Beach. You got to approach it a little bit differently for the property, right? But we really, especially if it's a unique property, get as many people into this property as possible, set an offer date, and we want to have the disclosures up ready from the first day. Okay, so sellers out there, you really should be committed to filling out the disclosure packet right from the start, because that is the best gauge for agents to really see what the traffic is, to where, we have the first, I typically put property on the market on a Friday. My first open is for the buyers, not for the brokers.